Shortly after Pagan Harvest released their first album, myself and a camera crew were heading down to the West Country to meet the band. We had been asked to make a film about the song Rebecca Falls, and this was the final piece to be recorded for the album, and the song that best encapsulates what Pagan Harvest are all about. Our film looks at the influences behind the song, how it was constructed, and the contributions of the individual musicians.
Rebecca Falls started life as an exploration of an old English folk song called Reynardine. In that folk song, a young woman meets a fox and decides to go with him over the mountain into his green castle. One evening as I rambled among the leaves so green, I overheard a young woman converse with Reynardine. When Pagan Harvest came to orchestrate this narrative, Lawrence developed a very strong orchestral score, and it built into a 12-minute showstopper. We made a film of it with Jim Roper, and it was so strong that we wanted to come back and explore how it came into being through this film.
Welcome to the beating heart of Pagan Harvest, and this is where it all happened.
The West Country has always been an inspiration to Pagan Harvest, and this house has been where we've recorded some of our best material.
And this is the field opposite where we record, with the hawthorn in full blossom and the inspirational Salisbury Hill in the distance.
The song was very popular in the 60s with people like Bert Jansch and Briggs, and probably most iconically with Fairport Convention. I wanted to look at the text of the song to see if that was the whole story. And one of the things I did was to drop a detective into it. If a girl disappeared in real life, you'd have a police investigation. So I set up a police investigation within the narrative of Reynardine. And what he found was that the woman was restless, creative, purposeful, seeking adventure, which is what had driven her out there in the first place. She was nobody's fault. And she met someone from another realm, someone who'd crossed over into our world from another place. And her sense of adventure took her to that other place. The detective was caught in between two worlds and couldn't hold it together and was destroyed by the process. And the fox was never caught.
So this piece starts with a very folky tune in 6/8 that seemed to fit the image of a fox, nimble and cunning. So I thought to make the fox's theme even more frisky, nice bit of pizzicato strings will do. To give a bit more of a scope and feeling of the rolling moors, some more open strings in a slightly different time signature. Bit more percussion with the xylophone.
When Lawrence gave me the music for Rebecca Falls, I had a listen to it, and the start of it with the xylophone and the guitar is so atmospheric that I thought it doesn't need bass, I'll end up diluting it. So I then decided to come in further into the song where the vocals goes climb to see the view, so I climb up the neck, and then follows that with below Rebecca Falls, so at that stage I'm lower down. Now I thought that was a perfect introduction to the bass for the bass to the song.
But a week later, the helicopter flew, and the river was trawled just below Rebecca Falls.
So what the piece needed in the middle was a good old-fashioned chase, which we set in 7/8, quite a strong riff. And it starts with a circular theme on strings with a distant hunting horn. Then to add a bit more atmosphere, we start putting in cellos and bass. To liven it up, with xylophone and more percussion with a timpani. To anchor things a bit more, some snare. We put Steve's bass and guitar on, and you have the whole final piece.
Now the detective scans the plain, watching the lovers walk in the rain, searching for a fox in his castle of green, asking the suspect where he's been. He says he was home, but he can't be sure. Someone had seen him out of the moor, where the law creeps and death walks tall, on the climb to Rebecca Falls.
So this is a Martin D18, possibly the most beautiful guitar in the world, with an incomparable range of tones and great way to demonstrate different techniques. And I use 3 different styles in the verse to Rebecca Falls. The first is a very simple claw hammer, making it a bit more intense now with more finger style, moving on to a tambourine effect. And then finally, at the climax where the ghost is scratching at the windows, we can really let rip.
Reynardine's theme occurs for the second time, and in that, what I wanted to do was to make it more pushy and give it a bit more energy. So what I did is I used a downward slur and then a very quick EDE to give it a do-do-do feel to it.
No one ever asked about a castle of green, and no one ever asked if a fox had been seen. Now sometimes tourists climb over broken walls